In episode 6, it's small groups versus big groups in escape rooms. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Mystery Ship Transmissions podcast. My name is Derek, aka Sugi, and today it's small groups versus big groups in escape rooms. This subject actually came up because it was in a recent magazine article for the local California AAA members magazine, and they actually had a 2-page article about escape rooms that are popping up in California. They had done interviews with a few of the owners, and they even talked to an enthusiast. It was an actual great read. If any of you are a AAA member, for those in California, great article. Check it out. Give it a good read. You'll see, I think, 3 escape room companies were mentioned in that article. Good read. Very, very, very informative. And there was one thing that popped out in that article that I read. The question was, how many people should I bring to an escape room? And the answer in that question was, the more the merrier. That wasn't verbatim what it said, but that was the part that really stuck out to me. Today, that's what really brings up the subject of that question. Are big groups really better? And to answer that, it depends. It's not always going to be good. They have, just like a lot of things, there's pros and cons to both. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, these are just thoughts. These are just observations, obviously very subjective to your own personal experience and my own personal experience. Today, we're going to be tackling 6 points. I know there's a lot more out there, but we're just going to stick with 6 today. If any of you catch something that I didn't talk about today, I would love to hear from you guys. I would love to see you comment. Let us know if there is a pro or a con to either or something neutral. Would love to hear from you guys. But with that said, let's go right into it. Actually, before we get started, there are 6 points that we're talking about, and we're going to start off with pros. 3 points that are going to be good for small groups, and we're going to have 3 points that are good for big groups. And obviously, one's going to kind of weigh out the other. So we'll talk about the pro first, and then the con will kind of make sense. You'll get it. Just keep listening, okay? All right, so first off, pro number 1. Big groups can cover ground faster. Let's signify what makes a big group. Big groups are going to be groups of 7 to 12 or more. Small groups, you're going to be looking at about 2 to 4 people. Now, that doesn't mean that 5 to 6 is the perfect balance of people. We're just talking about some of the advantages and disadvantages to having a small versus big groups. So first off, big groups can cover ground faster. One of the biggest things that you're going to experience in an escape room for those who have played is that covering ground is important. A lot of escape games really rely heavily on scavenging, looking for objects that are hidden, clues tucked away. You're going to have to cover ground. Now, it's not to say that escape rooms are these gigantic warehouse-filled areas and that it's just going to be all that's all you're going to do. No. That's not what I'm saying here. But covering ground faster in a game that is on a time limit, covering ground is important. The more people that you have covering ground faster, the more quicker you're going to find puzzles, you're going to find clues, and that's going to progress you more efficiently throughout the game. Having smaller groups, obviously with less people, you're going to not be able to see as much. You're not going to be able to scavenge. with the shorter group of people. So one big pro is going to be that big groups can cover ground faster. Pro number 2, small groups require less communication and coordination. It's another big point in escape rooms is that you have to be able to communicate with each other. For smaller groups, this is something that is going to be a lot more easier most times for those who are able to communicate with each other, because obviously if you have 2 people in a room that can't communicate, then you're going to have some problems, some real problems. But trying to communicate with your group, especially with a big group of people, can be very challenging at times. People have certain ideas, certain thoughts. There's more opportunity for strong communication for bigger groups, but definitely a greater chance for more people that may not communicate as well. And it also requires a lot of coordination when it comes to having big groups. Certain things that you're going to have to do in escape rooms may require one person from one room telling something to someone else on the other side of the room or somewhere else. And when you have a bunch of other people trying to help or feel like they're helping, it doesn't. It definitely, everyone has to kind of, all right, stop. All right, let's go back. Okay, let's take a step back and let's figure this out. That burns up time, and time is of the essence. And when we're talking about coordination, we're not just talking about inside the escape room. We're also talking about even just booking the room in general. Just like going out to dinner with a big group or setting up some kind of party, it takes coordination. And sometimes trying to get a big group of people and figuring out, okay, all right, we're going to do an escape room. Okay, so what's your schedule like? Oh, well, Jane, she's off Saturday, but then, oh, no. Bill, he can't do it. He's got a baby shower to go to or something along the lines of that. That's just something I just made up there. But that is also something to consider when you're doing pros and cons, is that I've done it. I've tried to coordinate big groups and it is tough. It gets done, but it is definitely more difficult than, say, getting a double date going where it's like, hey, you guys free? And yeah, maybe it might be a little bit tough, but it's obviously a lot easier to do with a few people than a lot of people. Pro number 3, big groups have more input on puzzles. You will get stumped in escape rooms more times than not. I have 39 under my belt at this point, and there's no doubt that there are times where people assume, oh, you've done a lot of rooms. You probably, nothing probably catches you off guard anymore. I play escape rooms with people who have 2 times more the escape room experience, and they still get stumped. They still have to ask for clues in games. So input on puzzles is going to be big because you're probably going to get stuck. And it's important to get as many people on something, especially when you are stuck, to do a puzzle. Not to say that the big group is definitely going to have the answer, but it definitely helps a lot more. There's definitely better odds and probability that somebody may come up with the answer, or at least having a group look at the puzzle or looking at something to put some kind of input may spark an idea which leads to the correct answer. Small groups definitely don't have that benefit. Now, number 4, small groups don't tend to miss special reveals or payouts. This is something that, even though I do rooms with small groups and I still tend to miss these sometimes, the odds and probability of missing this is much smaller with small groups than it is with big groups. Now, what we're talking about here is that not everybody can necessarily work on one puzzle. It's going to happen. Sometimes there's not enough room. It's kind of uncomfortable to have 7 people huddled around one puzzle, get a little bit claustrophobic maybe, I'm not sure, but you don't need to be there. At the same time, doing certain puzzles, maybe something built into the room that's connected to technology, leads to awesome reveals. And unfortunately, for groups that are bigger, that are more spread out, you may miss those reveals. You may miss those aha moments that are really rewarding and something that you could be really clever about. And then you don't really end up finding out about it until either you ask that person in the middle of during the game, you're like, oh, how did you figure that out? Or you end up asking them after the game. And it tends to take the experience out for a few of the individuals. Whereas for a small group, it does, most of the group is going to be able to see the reveal and see what the payout is, or to figure it out, or see that it's just the odds are going to be better for the small group than it is for the big group. There. Number 5. Big groups tend to be less expensive. Now, this one's going to be a little bit outside of the escape room itself here. We're talking about going through booking your room. And you're going to notice that if you tend to bring more people on with your group, they tend to give you more of a discount than if you were to bring just 2, 3, or 4 people. Well, why do they do that? Why would they? They have an aim for what they're going to make on the escape room per time. They really have to level out what the cost and what they're going to value that escape room at. And if you bring more people to that room, there's going to be better marketing, better word of mouth and experience for the room, which is good in the long run. It definitely benefits the escape room itself, and also probably benefits you because you're doing the room with a big group of people, probably friends, coworkers. In the end of the day, the big groups are going to be saving money per person. So we're almost there. Let's backtrack really quick before we get to the last one. So number 1, big groups can cover ground faster. Number 2, small groups require less communication and coordination. Number 3, big groups have more input on puzzles. Number 4, small groups don't tend to miss special reveals or payouts. Number 5, big groups tend to be less expensive. Let's dive into number 6. Number 6, pro, last one. Small groups tend to feel more immersive. This one, it's very important to me, is that a room is immersive. There is nothing less exciting than being just put in a room with a few puzzles and that's it. You're getting the challenge of doing puzzles. It may be hands-on, and that's cool and all, but I definitely can appreciate, at least for myself, being immersed. I'm a person who really loves going to Vegas, not because of the casinos and the games so much, or the nightlife. I love looking at just the structures. I love looking at the theme, not just of the outside of the building, but we're talking about the inside. I'm thinking, why did they put this here? What is it trying to portray to me? I feel the same way anywhere else. Disneyland, theme parks, I love that. An escape room needs to be immersive. Now, how does that play into escape rooms? Small groups tend to give you a more isolated experience, especially when it comes to scary or horror themed escape rooms. The less people that you do an escape room with, the more scarier it tends to be. And if you don't believe me, go try it. I'm telling you, I do. I've done escape rooms that have horror themes with bigger groups, and it definitely does not have the same impact. Even though, yeah, it's different rooms, and maybe one has a less intense experience, maybe. But then again, I do think of, well, what if I didn't have a big group with me? Would there be less talking? Would I be able to hear different sounds that the room is using? Definitely gives you more time to maybe appreciate a little bit more of the atmosphere. Maybe creates a little bit more tension. You're going to find it a lot less loud. And with big groups, it's going to be loud because there's a lot of people in the room, and bigger groups are going to want to say something. Somebody's going to want to be funny. Smaller groups tend to leave you with a more immersive experience. Now, those are all the pros. And as I kind of pointed out throughout those sections, is that these are just the odds, the probability that you will experience. There's no guarantee that small groups can't cover ground faster. Obviously, if you run, you can cover ground faster. You could prove all of these points wrong. But from personal experience, this is what tends to happen. These are the things that tend to be the benefits. These are the things that tend to be the cons, the other side of it. So really, what's the whole point of bringing these up? And the fact of the matter is that, well, everyone has preferences. In anything that you do, your hobbies, the things that you enjoy, you have preferences. You start learning about the things that help you enjoy the experience more. And sometimes you're going to have to experience it for yourself. I'm not telling you to not do small groups. I'm not telling you not to do big groups. Go out and experience it yourself. Find out what you enjoy more so that you have a more enjoyable experience. If we want to achieve a more enjoyable experience, we have to ask ourselves, what are the things that I look for? What are the things that are going to help me get to that point? And this is really what the point of the video and our subject today was to help you on that journey, give you a few thoughts, help you get started, make the most out of your experiences, and not just in escape rooms. So that'll wrap it up for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Next episode is going to be episode number 7, lucky number 7, and we're going to be doing another escape room review on Knights of the Round Table by LA Dragon Studios. Brand new company. They have one room. We're going to review it next week, so definitely tune in for that. Don't forget to subscribe onto YouTube and also Facebook for updates on new escape rooms and discounts. And that's going to do it. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Until next time from the Mystery Ship, challenge yourself, have fun, and escape well.